All right, everyone. Welcome again to today's event. We'll get started. It's 11 a.m. So good morning and welcome to today's session where Wavelink and the team at Spectralink are excited to be bringing the newest addition to the Spectralink family, the 9200 series. This has certainly been an interesting year for us, and while much of the world has been in hibernation, our teams have been hard at work ensuring this new product is ready to launch, ensuring we meet our mandate of bringing quality technology solutions to our channel network. Today's panel, we have speaking is Alan Rubin, Managing Director of Wavelink, Nathan Gibb, Channel Enablement Manager for Wavelink, and joining us all the way from the United States is Karen Cooper, Senior Manager of Global Product Marketing. You should be able to see the three of them at top. Guys, give a quick wave so everyone can see you. Now our team today, they do really love questions. So throughout the session, should you have any, there's a few ways that you can do that. You can put them in the chat box to myself directly. You can put them in the questions panel, or at the end of the session during the Q&A, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can ask your question verbally. There's also a takeaway for today's event placed in our handout section. So you can view that as well in the handout section of the toolbar. And we'll also finally be recording the session and we'll share a link with it after the event for you to circulate with your teams. We also encourage you to provide any feedback you have on the session via a feedback form that will be created. And finally, should you have any issues or anything throughout the event, you can also contact me directly. Alan, with that being said, I will hand over to you. Thanks very much.
Right, thanks, Craig, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Really exciting things are happening in our world and in lots of ways. Sorry, I've just got to work into my presentation, which has gone off the screen. While everyone's been in isolation, Spectralink has been very busy growing the family. Where we've come from, everyone knows in terms of the product sets, in terms of the 8400, tried and tested, it's been out for some time in terms of what it can deliver for voice. And we've got that obviously working in so many different locations around the country with thousands upon thousands of devices. A couple of years ago, Spectralink really took the journey of moving on to what smart devices look in the workplace with the launch of the 95 and 96 series Versity. And we've been able to get some amazing penetration into the local market, mostly into acute care with some very big deployments. You would have seen about 12 months ago, ACT Health procuring that. They procured 2,000 devices at that point. We had an announcement a couple of weeks ago for the Royal Children's Hospital down in Melbourne, and there's others that are following the suit in terms of being able to deliver critical communications on Versity with all the applications wrapped around it. What Spectralink has been doing over the last 12 months, and I recall I was in Boulder, Colorado, I think it's last October, feels like about 4 years ago to be honest. I'm usually there 3 times a year. And there was a sign there saying 342 days to go. And that's all around the launch of the 92 series. And that's what we're going to be introducing you to today. And really the 92 series is a segue of how we move smart devices or users from the 8400 series to a smart device. And it is a midpoint for providing that complete family, depending on the use cases and the applications as to what type of device is required in those particular environments. So if you look at where we've come from, the markets and opportunities are definitely expanding. Typically, most of the work we've been doing with the smart device, especially with Versity, the 95 and 96, has been the acute care settings. That's probably driven by a couple of specific requirements around EMR, around the use for enterprise barcode reader and the like. But what we're seeing today is the transcending into aged care, depending on where the requirements are quite different, what they need to do from a device is a little bit different. So with that, with the aged care settings, in terms of the opportunities we see, what we're discovering is as we transcend from moving from a candy bar phone, which is the 8400, which is here, moving from the traditional candy bar phone to a smart device, with the 92 series being that, you'll see the rough size and footprint is similar. In fact, in lots of cases, actually a lot smaller. But apart from going to a smart device, there's a reason that needs to happen, and that's where we see the massive opportunities that will deliver to partners. and to customers, that as we talk to customers, as we're seeing what's happening, the ability to be sticky into that customer in lots of ways, whereas previously we're selling the device into the healthcare settings with an 8400, very driven around voice and messaging. It'll be pretty simple messaging. That world is changing. What we're able to drive now with the 92 series is a lot stickier applications, a lot deeper integrations, the ability to deliver mobility into the workplace like never before, at a price point that enables a customer to make a decision as to why they're moving. Ultimately, we see there has to be a reason as to when you move from one technology to another. It can't be just because it's a smart device, it's the new flashy thing. So what we're seeing, especially from the experiences we've had in the acute settings, is as you drive more applications down to the users and the ability to, what they're used to outside the four walls, coming into the four walls, that conversation is being able to expand, making a lot stickier and providing a lot more opportunity than just selling a device. For example, as we ran some pilot testing and we've done some work with the 92 series and some customers, as simple as being able to do a camera shot, which they use all day, every day for wound control, where they can have a grid line. So it doesn't mean I've got to take out a ruler and say, oh, how far is that wound? How far did I do it yesterday? I need to send it to the doctor. They're using their consumer devices, which is a challenge in itself, to be able to deliver those requirements. A torch may sound pretty simple. A calculator at the fingertips of the user's hands is something they're not used to doing. Obviously, as we look at the world today, the settings have changed. We deal with a lot more complexities. Welcome to the world of COVID. The things we're seeing today around infection control are monstrous. The ability to have a bacterial wiping on the devices, they can't do that with a consumer device. So on top of that, you're seeing the additional requirements where you want separation from staff, the ability to communicate in different ways, the ability to message in different ways, using various applications to do that. In one use case, we've seen one aged care provider saying we want to put Microsoft Teams so every user can communicate with each other, our management team communicate with the users on the other side. That's where the world is changing. So I've really focused very much on healthcare in terms of the discussions. Karen will go more into the product. I'm giving an overview of what the market opportunities look like. But the reality is what we're seeing at a market perspective is very, very different. The world is now expanding as far as we're concerned. We've traditionally been very focused into healthcare. The ability to drive opportunities into retail, logistics, manufacturing, hospitality are going to expand even more. One point that we're seeing, and we're seeing it all day in the world today that we exist, is every setting is now a healthcare setting. When would you have imagined that you would walk into a retail and you'd have hand sanitization? Didn't exist 6 months ago. That's changing. Where are the risks? If you see users today, what's happening on one side as they walk in, you'll see at the supermarket, they're using devices. That is their biggest, at the moment, point of failure for infection control. They're not bacterially wiping them, but users are using that with their hands, touching their faces, etc., and then providing risk. Not dissimilar to where you'll see that in manufacturing, logistics, etc. We hear where the settings are. We're living in Victoria, we live it, believe me, we're living and breathing it as to talk about all the settings that have the risk. Away from that is the way we interact and the way we talk to. So Karen will give you some insight into that. So if you look at retail, the way we interact with retail today is a lot different. Fortunately, unfortunately, look at the US market, and Karen will give some insights as to the way the retail segment has worked. But they've done this for years in that setting, where things like BOPA, so it's buy online, pick up in store, exist today. How do we communicate and enable a customer to interact into the BOPUS level, which enables us to, as a consumer, transact online, still communicate with the person in the store. They can take a device, they can run the barcode, they can talk to you, they can message you, all in one seamless way of operation. So that's where we see a lot of the opportunities expanding in different ways beyond what we've seen traditionally. There's a wraparound where Spectralink has spent a lot of time developing a management platform, once again, to how we manage these devices within the environment. And Nathan will give a bit of an insight into the enablement side for that at the end of the presentation, towards the end of the presentation. But hopefully all the partners see some great opportunities with this. We're excited. We're looking at this product being available within a couple of months locally in terms of what it can offer the partners and the ability to change and pivot the conversations in different ways to their existing customer base that hopefully will present a lot of opportunity. So over that, I'll hand it over to Karen to talk through the actual product side itself. Karen, over to you.
Great, thank you, Lon. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to join you all the way from the States here. It's a little after 7 in the evening, but happy to join you. I'm really excited to talk about our new addition to the family. But I thought I would start our conversation today just a little bit differently before we dive really into the product itself. But what I believe this new product really allows us to do is to kind of take a little higher conversation with the customer and really present a story for them around their business and what are some of the things that they really need to be looking for as they're looking for mobile solutions, as they're potentially upgrading from the 8400 to some of the newer smartphones, but really looking at what do they really want to be doing. So obviously, when they're looking at unified communication integrations, the applications that they want to be using, the reliability of their network, can it support both voice and data? What does the network system, the maintenance and support and services they need for that? What kind of integrations are they looking for? Are they looking for sort of an open platform? Are there applications on Android, or do they have custom applications they might need to be running? And then getting down to the device itself around the purpose built. You know, what are they looking for it to do? Obviously being reliable, durable, but what does that functionality look like for their particular workflow? So some of the building blocks for success and really where to guide customers to start thinking about this entire process is, the first one is around, you know, upgrading their platform and taking a look at their infrastructure and what do they really need to migrate to the smartphone platform. So really around being able to provide some wireless network assessment for them, looking at how they're going to maybe deploy and provision the devices, what that whole design process and planning looks like, having a plan to roll that out so that they can be successful. And then how do you maintain everything so that you have a good return on investment of both your phone as well as the infrastructure. And so then the second piece is really around selecting the right device. So thinking about what processes are my mobile workers engaged in, what do those workflows look like, what critical information do they need to access, do they really need an application on a smartphone, or can they get by with quality voice and some simple texting? Are there voice critical workflows? Are there data critical workflows? So really thinking through that process to select the right solution for them. And then finally, I think is a really and also really exciting piece is, as Alon mentioned, we've added a new solution to our phone family, but Spectralink has also added another element to how our customers are able to really get the most benefit out of a mobile solution, and that's around mobile intelligence. So really looking at within the Spectralink fleet, how to manage the device and application configuration control, having some basic troubleshooting and device health analytics around that, and then really rolling that into some advanced mobility analytics and some call quality monitoring. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes. So what's really the challenge for our customers? So obviously, you know, they want to provide a solution that empowers mobile shift workers to really deliver a seamless customer experience. And as Alon talked about, really in the healthcare setting and in both the acute care as well as the senior care organizations, as you move more into retail and what COVID has done with folks not wanting to go into stores and really being able to still communicate with customers to allow them to pick up deliveries, knowing the customers are there and ready to pick up their order, and really having that seamless communication that we all need and welcome to help manage our day-to-day lives. Workers themselves really want something that's simple and easy to use. We're all used to personal cell phones. We all like the look and feel, and we all have our preferences, whether it's an Android phone or an iPhone. But as we're all accustomed to that type of device, and so being able to have something that's easy to use and that workers know how to use or intuitively know how to use, and it makes the adoption of that device seamless for the corporation. And then last on the list, but certainly high on Spectralink's list is really the need for clear voice communication and data access. So our differentiator is really around voice and having a good quality voice, no drop calls, being able to seamlessly roam from access point to access point, and having good voice quality. And so that's the pitch that we lead with in terms of, we think all of these communication channels, voice is number one, data is number two. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Wi-Fi device portfolio. So just to kind of outline this just a little bit, I like Elon's tag of the 8400 being a candy bar phone. We call it a feature phone. So it's really the terminology that's used, smartphone, feature phones, and just talking a little bit about some of the traditional functionalities that those phones have had. Obviously, enterprise grade is important, so being able to use it in a shared environment with a Wi-Fi network. With Spectralink, all of our phones come with voice quality optimization, our VQO technology, and that's really what I mentioned a little bit a few minutes ago around really that quality call roaming. We have some proprietary algorithms in all of our phones that really allow us to make sure that customers do get that quality of voice and don't have drop calls. So if they're in a noisy manufacturing facility or a noisier environment, we have a lot of echo cancellation and noise suppression to really make sure that the voice comes through loud and clear. Really having sort of those all-in-one solutions, so allowing them to use it as a phone, as a pager, a walkie-talkie, being able to have different of those communication devices in one device. So with the 8400 and the feature phones, there's still going to be some customers. It's still a good seller for us. There's still going to be some customers that really just need the voice, the phone, the walkie-talkie, some simple communication, maybe some light texting, maybe some quick emailing, things like that. That's where these feature phones in the 8400 is really good for. I'm going to jump to the Versity 95 series, and then we'll come back to the Versity 92 series. So our Versity 95, 96 series we call it our smartphone premium. So this is really an all-in-one mobile solution. Again, more of that similar to our personal cell phones, a very large display and very highly durable. So IP68, so really waterproof, dustproof, can withstand a lot of handling, dropping, things like that. The 95 series has the hot swappable battery. So for those customers that really have a need zero downtime, critical access. So with a hot swappable battery, if the battery goes down, they can change out the battery, still be on a call, they won't lose the call, put a new battery in, and they're ready to go. So that's really key for some of these, particularly around the healthcare customers that really need to have that always-on communication. And then, so thinking again about sort of the choice and what customers are when they look at their worker workflows that we talked about, and sort of how are they going to be using the phone. So the 95, 96 series, again, voice mission critical, but really around application-heavy workflows. So for example, EHR applications in healthcare, or those types of applications where they might have to communicate a lot, enter some data, need more to interact more with the applications on the phone. So those types of phones with a little larger screen just makes it a little bit more easier for them to do that. And certainly with the zero downtime and some of the more extreme environments that they might need it for, that phone is built for that. So I'm going to jump back now to the Versity 92 series. So really this is our mid-tier voice. We call it our compact all-in-one solution. Still has the phone, the built-in push-to-talk, our safe functionality. So a lot of those things that are standard throughout our line of phones. A little bit smaller, you'll see here pictures here in a minute. A little bit smaller displays, a little bit more narrower, but very easy to grasp and use with one hand. It's very portable to put in the pocket. You can wear it around your neck. So it's lightweight, so a little bit more applicable for different types of users, such as the grocery store workers that we talked about, some of the senior care facilities, things like that. The trade-off, obviously, is around some more of the design characteristics. It's durable. It's IP65, so it's water and dust resistance, not water and waterproof, so you can't put it in water for any extended period of time. It doesn't have a hot swappable battery. It does have a replaceable battery that can be separately charged, just like the Versity 95 series, so a little bit different there. And again, to kind of think about the workflows, these are more, this phone is a great upgrade for the 8400 for those folks that really want to get into using a smartphone. They have some applications that might be more easily, the workflows easily more productive by using a smartphone. So some task management, again, voice communication is really critical, maybe some light information browsing. They need to get on the website or check different things, having some texting and alerts and some of those capabilities. So what's really great about our portfolio now is we have a lot of options and a lot of choices, and it allows us to go out to our customers and kind of really assess and talk to them about what they really want to do and try to find a solution that really matches well with their application. So as I mentioned earlier with our voice quality optimization, I think that the biggest differentiator for Spectralink is around our voice experience story. And we've always had voice quality optimization as sort of our secret sauce. And really being able to ensure that the voice traffic that happens on the Wi-Fi network, which is sometimes optimized for data and not voice, really does present quality voice. And we really make sure that as with our technology, as customers are using our device and roaming throughout the facility, they're switching from one access point to another, that the voice packets are handing off seamlessly. And so the customer doesn't hear that. It's just they hear the call, it's quality call, they don't get anything dropped or lose a call unexpectedly, which obviously can be an issue. And because of that, we're also validated with every major call network provider. So within the Wi-Fi infrastructure, we can be sure that the voice quality optimization occurs with all those network providers. A second piece to this, which is part of AMI, and I'll talk about AMI here in a second, is around our new patented technology called Voice Experience Tracking, or VET. We're the only mobile device vendor that can provide VET. And VET is part of our mobile intelligence. And what VET does is VET will actually measure what that voice quality looks like, what that performance looks like, as it's being handed off from access point to access point. And so what it will show you is it can show you by device or by access point sort of how the device is performing on those access points and if there's any trouble with those access points. So without getting into a lot of technical details here, it can really help folks to troubleshoot whether they have a device or network issue, or maybe they have an area in a building that they don't know that access point isn't working properly enough to handle the call quality, or they are getting a lot of drop calls. So it really allows them to focus on that entire solution, right? The device, the network health, that whole piece. So they're all interconnected. And so our vet technology helps support that, and we're really excited about adding Amy to our product family as well. So let's get a little bit more into our Versity 92 series. And I see that you guys have the data sheet handout. So there'll be a lot more technical specs that on the data sheet that I'm going to talk about, but I'll just mention some of the highlights. And I don't profess to be the most technical expert at Spectralink on this phone. So if there's some questions that I'm not able to answer for you, I'll be happy to get the answer and get back to you on that and give it to the Wavelength folks. So as we talked about here, just really thinking about making that transition from a feature phone to a smartphone. And you know, there's still folks that are a little you know, hesitant about that, but I think, you know, the time is ripe with this new family member. This is a great sort of interim solution for folks that you know, maybe budgets are an issue, so it's an economical solution for them to take a look at it. It's just as reliable as our rest of our family is with the Versity 95, and compact. So it's a smaller, you know, user-friendly design. Again, as we talked about, has that all-in-one device, phone, push-to-talk, scanner. I think another feature that is part of our solution is the safe functionality. So I don't know how much all of you are familiar with that, but at the push of a button, customers or our users can get you know, help. So if there's a lone worker situation, suspicious activity, particularly working in a store at night, or even in, you know, senior care, something happens and they can quickly push a button, it'll give an alarm or alert or call somebody, and you can customize all that. So I think that's a really important function to talk about when we're talking about sort of this all-in-one solution. Obviously with the smartphone, you have the camera now. There's upgraded scanning capabilities that they can utilize for. And we have a modern Android OS system, so it's very highly customized. So if they have specific applications that they want to use, or they have maybe some customized Android applications that they can put on the phone. And then the piece de resistance, if you will, is our mobile intelligence for the fleet management around that. So for those organizations that have sort of larger numbers of devices, really being able to take a look at those and proactively manage those devices, I think is really important with the addition of Amy. So just real quick, here's some of the accessories that'll be available with the Versity 92. So a little bit different than what you might be used to with the Versity 95. So we have multi-chargers, 6 phones together or 6 batteries together. So the phones and batteries are separate. An all-one charger, a single desktop charger, or a phone and battery independent desktop charger. There's what we call a trigger. So for those applications, grocery store, retail, you know, some light manufacturing where they have to do a lot of barcode scanning, they can slip the phone very nicely into this the trigger mechanism and utilize that. Some nice cases that kind of belt clips that slip on your belt, and then lanyards too. Like I said, it's small enough and light enough that someone could wear it around their neck and just, you know, have that easily accessible depending on what they're using it for. And then real quick around Amy. So we added Amy for Wi-Fi to our Versity line in February of this year. And so we're really excited to bring it out to our platform here in September. We've got it with a couple of our customers right now, and really they're really enjoying being able to take a look at some of these interesting features. And just real brief with what I'd like to say about Amy is, you know, there's a lot of vendors that offer sort of that traditional mobile device management, and depending on the vendor that you have and the device that you have, things are just slightly different by vendor, by device. And so most of the mobile device management systems offer some some device deployment, how to, configuring the applications, get some basic troubleshooting of the device to see if it's working or not working, maybe some alarming and alerts, things like that. Battery health and maintenance, being able to take a look at when batteries need to be replaced, kind of proactively planning for that, looking at maybe what applications might be draining your battery, just kind of that overall sort of device health. But what Amy offers, in addition to having some of those traditional mobile device management pieces, is some more workflow functionality. So being able to track missing devices. So we can take a look through Amy through a footprint of a company's setup, and looking at all their Wi-Fi access points and actually having a map and seeing who last used the device and where it was last used. And so being able to make some assessments of tracking and seeing, being able to track down those devices and the utilization of those devices. Taking a look at the three biggest things around the Wi-Fi network health. So now we're marrying the device health with the Wi-Fi network health, because for us, it's all one, right? So our devices have to perform well on the network, and then we have to know that the network's performing well so that we know that our devices are performing well. So it's a combination of those two things. And with Amy, we provide what we call call quality monitoring. And so we measure these scores. They're called MOS scores. And a score of 4 or greater lets you know that the access point is working well, or that the call on the phone is working well. And so we're able to give some of those analytics. And through that, we're able to really assess the signal strength by certain access points and the handoff performance by certain access points. So we can go through, and you can go through and map your entire network and be able to look at and quickly click on what access points might not be having a good signal strength, or what access points aren't handing off those packets well enough. And so it really allows administrators of these fleets to get a great return on their investment by being able to be proactive with not just the device, but being active around making sure that their networks are also upkept and are working the way they need to, so that the devices work, so that the users are happy, and everything is running smoothly. So it's really important, and we're really excited to be able to offer all of this together for and all the choices between our products now within the Spectralink family. And just again, summing up, just a full smartphone solution, allowing customers to choose the right device based on their application, the services and support that you all can provide them, and the proactive intelligence with Amy.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Karen. Nathan, now handling off onto your kind self.
Thank you very much, Karen. Excellent insight to what is going to be a great addition to the Versity family. And in saying that itself, obviously the capabilities of an enterprise-grade smartphone, both with the 92, 95 and 96 series, in itself comes down to a greater understanding and a great ability for our partners to have the ability to integrate these devices into what can be a far more complex world than what we have traditionally seen with the 8400 series phone. Obviously, these being enterprise-grade smartphones, unlocked Android, you have the entirety of your app store at the fingertips, and the customer solutions can be really tailored to that. So we're, of course, always working with the fantastic team at Spectralink to bring the most relevant training and enablement courses and capabilities to our partners as well. Obviously, traditionally with the 8400 series, there has always been an online admin training available, and that still continues with the Versity series as well, but as well as the instructor-led courses that myself as the Channel Enablement Manager, I have been running over the last few years since being with Wavelink as well, obviously. But we're also working and creating a market-leading enterprise professional services training course for the Spectralink Versity, both with the 92 and the 95 and 96 series handsets as well, to really get a better understanding of how to best integrate these handsets in an enterprise-grade solution. Obviously, if we're looking at a hospital type scenario, there's a lot of different subsystems that you might need to be integrated, and getting a better understanding again with the fundamentals of actually planning a solution and deployment as well. So that's where the enterprise professional services training is really going to come to the fine point for the Versity series going forwards as well. So we will certainly be bringing more information out soon in terms of what training is going to be available, so that our partners can be skilled up and ready to go in terms of actually being able to manage these devices and integrate them into some great opportunities, basically. So, and again, just a quick overview with some of the differences in the courses themselves. Instructor Led Training for the 84 series themselves, as it obviously comes back to the fundamentals of understanding the handsets, integrating them with CMS, XML-based configuration, obviously being a more simplistic phone in itself with a feature phone, but then obviously on the Versity side again, looking at that integration with the Spectralink AMI Essential SAM server, understanding how you deploy with a mobile device manager such as SOTI, which we also distribute, and then really again understanding the View certified networks and integrating with voice over Wi-Fi best practices planning and integration. So again, as I said, we've got some great programs that are coming to fruition that we're going to be able to deliver for our channel partners going forwards.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nathan. So we've moved on to the Q&A section now. So luckily enough, we've had a few questions come through. Obviously, everyone's very excited. So there's a few ones specific around timeframes and more specifics around the devices themselves. The first question is from Kevin Burdett. Will there be an LTE version available in Australia? I think we may have spoken to this a bit before. Let me just unmute Karen.
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. So yeah, will there be a LTE version, Alan and Karen, in Australia for the 9200 series?
So currently, no, we don't have an LTE version available with the Versity 92 series. So the LTE version is only on the Versity 96 series at this time.
Cool. And there was obviously, I think, Alan, you mentioned it a little bit earlier around ETAs. So when would we be able to expect, I guess, stock for resellers to be able to go out to market with, as well as like some demo equipment as well?
Yeah, so demo equipment we'll see come through this month, through September. We already have some units in hand, but we can show, so you can get a feel for them. We won't supply them as demo units because they're not the production units as yet. We're expecting stock availability around mid-October is the rough timeline based on the current beta program that's happening globally. And we're part of that beta program locally as well with some customers. But so far, it's looking very positive for that timeline.
Cool, awesome. And then a final question that's come through is, how does the pricing compare to the 8400? Obviously, there's the suite of handsets is quite fully fledged now, and each handset offers a point of difference to the other ones. But how does the new device compare in pricing to an 8400?
Yeah, so we're actually quite excited to be the way we've positioned it. So we actually repositioned the 92 series to, in essence, be roughly the same pricing. It's a little bit more than the 8400. We've brought the 8400 down in price. That will be available to partners this week. So there's a repositioning of the family in terms of the entry level, mid-level, and the premium, depending on the requirements. The thing we'll see with some customers from the experience we're gaining is we're going to have mixed environments where we'll see a deployment within for example, an aged care facility. It could be retail where you'll have, might be 70 or 80% of the users using the 92 series, and then some of their management team using the 95 or 96 series. They may want LTE as part of that. So it's a mix that you'll find is going to be quite, the ability, it's much to Karen's point, it's all about having options and flexibility. So you've now got a series of 8 phones in essence. There's 4 within there's 2 within 96 series, there's 2 within the 95 series, there's 2 within the 92 series, and there's 2 within the 84 series. So once again, depending on what's required by that particular use case, there's a lot of flexibility how it can be packaged for that particular customer, depending on what their requirements are.
Awesome, thank you for that. And there was a question here from Sean Diamond as well. It may have been covered a little bit earlier, I can't recall, but is there a messaging API on the new device?
Yeah, so you've got XML messaging, exactly. It's not the same XML messaging as the 8400, it's the same as the Versity. So there are some tweaks depending on what you're integrating back into. So in the most, there's some platforms already done the integration back into Versity, depending on the requirements of that particular messaging application. But our view is it's moving across to an app environment. So I'm not sure whether he meant does Kevin mean, if he can just confirm, messaging app or a messaging API?
Sean,
because the API is
yeah, so it's Sean. What I'll do, Sean, native XML API. I was going to unmute you, but he beat me to it.
yes. Yeah, so we do have the native XML. There are some modifications to the 8400 one that need to be done by the messaging provider, but it does have XML as well as the app. And that's clearly one of the advantages, because then you've got the ability, if there's internet's down, et cetera, you've got backups. And the idea is that we're seeing this a lot, especially in aged care, we've seen it more where facilities are deploying consumer devices, you know, Samsungs, et cetera, and they're just not fit for purpose. They're just not meant for those environments. They're not a true shared device that can be used across shifts, battery swaps and placement, durability, infection control. We'll keep talking. We've done some videos on infection control. We did that probably about 3 or 4 months ago. We see that as one of the biggest drivers that users will need to look at of how they deal with infection control, especially in the next 6 months until we get rid of COVID. Infection control is going to be front and centre. It's something that Australia's been very lax on. You even talk into hospitals that the team's been dealing with, and we're talking to some of the largest hospitals in Australia, and infection control now is front and centre as the primary requirement to be health grade, that you can use antibacterial wipes on devices. Theoretically, you can use it on a consumer device, but it won't last. The plastics are not made for it. So that's where we're going to see a big pivot in the conversation. And we see the opportunity back for partners to be able to talk to customers and show how, in essence, this isn't just a product. You're basically investing in a platform that you can start doing a whole lot of things on top of that will improve your workflow efficiencies. And once again, it's not about deploying the new shiny thing. It's about deploying something that will give it a lot more purpose back to the user. And as we go through some of this, we've done it with some of the beta customers we've got here in Melbourne. We're sitting with it in a meeting the other day, and then and one of their what do they call them, basically the procedure and policy manager with the environment said, "Oh, you know, we're using this and this and this. Can we also put our app that gives all our reference documentation for manuals? Because one thing we've got at the moment, it's all paper-based. They've got to go back to a PC to find it. For them to be able to just do it at their fingertips, is something that's going to be highly valuable." We said, yeah, that's no problem. Just put the app on and they can search for it there and then, just at their fingertips. And that's where you'll see the word coming out now within healthcare called point of care. So it's a point of care device, everything being able to be done at the patient's bedside. Especially when you look at things like PPE, where they can't go in and out and in and out, because every time they go in and out, guess what? They've got to put a new mask on, they've got to change their face shield, they've got to put gloves, et cetera, et cetera. So it's about reduced touch, reduced contact. And how do you have tools that will provide that to happen? So a world of opportunity exists. Our job is to articulate that really clearly, give you guys, the partners, the tools to be able to sit in front of customers and to be able to talk to this, because it's a very different conversation to what was had 6 to 12 months ago. And that's the big pivot for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also as well, that with this new suite of products coming with the 9200 series, the conversation can also be taken outside of health and aged care. And you spoke to it a little bit earlier as the different kind of industries that it can go into. So we can talk to retail, we can talk to manufacturing, and as Wavelength, these are kind of conversations that we haven't had previously because we have been so focused on healthcare. So to be able to pivot and offer our resellers more verticals to go into and more industries with this amazing suite of products is really something that we haven't done previously, and we should be really excited about.
Absolutely. As I said before, our focus has been on healthcare because it's been the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So it's an easy conversation. That's why we're focused on that. The reality now, and we're seeing it all day, as I keep saying, every setting is a healthcare setting. It doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter if it's a cafe, it's the office, everything's a healthcare setting. And it's the ability for us to put right solutions in front of customers to adapt to it, and put solutions that can say, hey, you can actually do this. It'll take care of what you need from an infection control perspective to deal with and provide better customer service, because on the other side, what you're seeing is the user is changing the behaviour. And as I think Karen can attest, the US market, focus has existed for years already in the US market. It's something that's been there, done to the hills. Others outside Victoria, they're probably not experiencing as much, but in Victoria, especially in Melbourne, the last 5 weeks, no retail store could open. You couldn't step foot into a retail store unless it's a food environment. So your Bunnings, your JB Hi-Fis, your Bunnings is the equivalent of your Home Depots in the US. Click and collect. So you click collect, and then hopefully someone's there to drop it off for you when you get there. You can't necessarily communicate. So you have that pull through. So it's something that we've built a building solution set around as well. But definitely the market's expanding in a whole lot of different ways than we were even imagining.
Yeah.
I think one other point on the healthcare side too is particularly with customers that may already have the Versity 95 or 96 series is with the 92 series. It allows customers to have the same vendor. So you can go in, and what we're also finding is other users within the hospital, the 92 series fits really well. So whether it's housekeeping or porters or, other those mobile shift type workers within a hospital, and then the client can all be on the one platform, right, with the same phone. So we're finding a lot of interest in that area.
Yeah. We're seeing it here today. So there's one customer that's a Versity user, and they've got a decent sized fleet, but there's a certain segment of their staff that they didn't give a mobile device to. They've actually got a 92 series in hand at the moment, and they're looking at implementing that for those staff members, because the first year was just too expensive for them. The 95 series wasn't the right price point, so they basically left them aside. But this is actually a solution. They were just, in most cases, they're just task-driven roles. They just need to do tasks within the environment, just accept, reject. They don't have to do a lot of communication and invoice. That's the main 3 things they need. They're not doing a lot of transactions on the device. So we've seen opportunity already with a few of those customers looking at that today.
Awesome. I'm very conscious of everyone's time. I guess throwing it out to the panel, are there any final remarks or anything else you'd like the reseller community to be aware of before we wrap up today?
I think I've spoken enough.
You like speaking, so it's fine. Karen, anything from you?
No, I think we're good. I'm sure that we'll get all the information out, and as we roll into October here, and the product is launched, we'll have some more materials to share.
Awesome. And just an update as well. This is straight from our marketing director up in Sydney. There is new pricing on our web store of the 84 and 92 series as well. If anyone wants to take a look at that. Speaking of the next steps, for all of the attendees, like we said, you will receive a recording of this session tomorrow with a feedback form and some further documentation. We strongly encourage anyone that is interested, please talk to your channel manager as soon as possible if you want to set up a more one-to-one focused session, or you can reply back to the marketing email that'll come to you tomorrow. To our panel, Alan, Nathan, and Karen, thank you very much for your time. It's been great. This session has once again been a really, really amazing session. Thank you so much for taking the time. Karen, thank you for staying up a little bit later. Guys,
no worries.
With that being said, we are done. Thank you so much for attending, guys. We hope to see you all in person very, very soon. Thank you.